Anthropology 301, Peoples of the World, Analysis Paper Number 2 by Madeline Hallahan. In this paper, we will be able to analyze and explore a context of labor exploitation and operating sweatshop in a social-cultural context outside the United States, specifically Asia. Information from two different sources will be used to analyze and demonstrate how globalized processes affect people's lives. The first article, intersectionally as a social movement strategy, Asian immigrant women advocates, talks about the struggles women of color face not only in their place of work but their everyday lives. The second source used was an article from New York Times titled "For Asian Women Raised in Sweatshop Conditions, Queens Posed Obstacles to Assimilations." And this article tells the story of Asian-born girls who are exposed early on to sweatshop conditions. The first source goes more into depth on the obstacles women of color face, including sweatshop conditions, while the second source focuses more on individual people's stories involving sweatshops. In common, they both focus on the main topic, sweatshops. This world is filled with horrible things people have to deal with every day. After reading the articles, I realized how often things go under the radar, how cultural plays a major role in these issues, and why it's hard for these types of things to be resolved. The things people have to go through every single day of their lives is incredibly sad to me. What makes it even worse is the fact that no one realizes these things are happening constantly around the world. It's hard for people to reach out because they either aren't aware that these things are being put through, aren't normal, and they are too scared to speak up. In the news article, the author is telling the story of two young Asian girls and writes, "If you need help, seek it out." But Hugh and Tran fear that reaching out will make things worse, surrendering to systems they instinctively distrust. Mostly, everyone is too scared to reach out for help, so it goes under the radar. Sometimes these things can be hidden for months or even sometimes decades. After doing some other reading provided in a course, I have learned that a billion awful things go under the radar, such as illegal activities done at sea, human trafficking, and the poverty that occurs in other third world countries. Things need to change, and the only problem is that no one knows where to start. Culture plays a main role in issues around the world, including sweatshops. In most countries, jobs in crowded workspaces are the only jobs available or that people can get. Most of these people don't realize how unhealthy and wrong it is to work in these types of conditions. Poor ventilation, little to no breaks, inadequate workspace, insignificant lighting, or dangerously high or low temperatures. It is something their whole family has done, so it is part of who they are, their culture. Women have it especially hard because they are sometimes pregnant or a single mother trying to provide for their family along with being there for their family. In the reading the article, the author explains ways on helping these working mothers. They say creating spaces that allow women to renegotiate their relationships in multiple arenas emphasizes their intersectioning nature of them as a woman. Workers, mothers, wives, and immigrants. Fixing some of the ways these cultures go about life could help everyone in the end. In many cases involving illegal activity that occurs in third world countries or overseas, it usually goes unnoticed. The main reason for this is because there's little to no authority in these types of countries and the ocean is hundreds of miles wide. Not everything can be seen and monitored. The authorities try their best to hold everyone accountable for their actions, but they can't be in every place at once. To think about sweatshops, authorities must know about them but don't know exactly how to solve that problem. If they shut down these shops, where would these people work? Hundreds of thousands of people would be out of work and out of money. And if they try to fix these workplaces, what money would they use? There's usually little to no money in these factories, given that why they are so crowded and hot. The news article says they speak of their parents' flaws not to incriminate, but to prevent these patterns from repeating. It's a lose-lose situation, but something needs to be done about it because these people are being overlooked and their health is rapidly declining. The pattern needs to stop. In conclusion, sweatshops need to come to an end, along with human trafficking and illegal activities at sea. People need to come together and solve the issues going on in the world. Just because it doesn't affect us personally does not mean it should be overlooked and pushed to the side. These things need to come to the surface and be addressed so they can be fixed for once and for all. This world is filled with horrible things people have to deal with every day. After reading the articles, I realized that these things happen very often and go under the radar, how culture plays a major role in these issues, and why it is so hard for these types of things to be resolved.